I know, like, what the hell? Either 20 minutes. It's like, probably
That's what I mean, like, probably through now.
Welcome to UCLA Extension Department of Business, Management, and Legal Programs video lecture series on entrepreneurship, new venture formation, and strategic business plan development. This video is an introduction to our video lecture series. I'm Harry Redinger, your instructor. There is a total of over 40 videos in this lecture series that integrates with our online UCLA online course management program, Canvas. Each video strives to be brief, however, they will overlap each other to tie our curriculum together. Okay, let's get started. Okay, each video will have at the very beginning of each video 3 or 4 questions relevant to the lecture. This kind of helps you keep your attention looking for the answers as we go through our curriculum. The first question is, what is our course motto? And so you want to be listening for that. Our next question is going to be, what is the 20/80 rule? So what is the 20/80 rule? And the third question that we're going to have will be, of the top 10 reasons for business failure, which 3 are the most likely to affect you, and what are you going to do to avoid these threats? Okay, so those are your potentially final exam questions that could come from this video. Now, of course, this curriculum deals with entrepreneurship, new venture formation, and strategic business plan writing. So I can assume that most of you are here with the idea of starting a business or to learn what it takes to start a business. So I thought we'd take just a little bit of time to talk about why are you taking this class. First, possibly a solution to a problem. So that you got laid off, or you want to make more, or you don't like your boss, but you're just frustrated. And wouldn't it be nice to wake up when you want to wake up and do what you want to do when you want to do that? There's a book that is a recommended reading that we'll get to later called The E-Myth. And so E meaning entrepreneurship can be a myth of a solution, and we'll be going over that as we go through our curriculum. Next is a career solution, a career alignment, and we're going to talk a bit, especially in the front end of our curriculum in terms of case study analysis. But one of our objectives is to help you align your most natural skills, your highest and best fit skills, with the right industry, the right occupation, the right career path. And so life is all about alignment, and aligning your career with what you're most passionate about, what you do best, is key. And entrepreneurship can be a solution to aligning you in terms of your most competitive skills. Next is economic opportunity. Right time, right place, and you discover a business niche that is not being filled. Let's always remember what the entrepreneur says. Aha, I see a need. So economic opportunity is to see something that the market is going to demand before it demands it, or to bring a new idea to market, and if all goes well, you find success. And then finally, work skills satisfaction. And in Module 2, strategic planning and case study analysis, we're going to talk about, what are your most competitive skills? Is it public speaking, or enterprising, working with your hands, creativeness? What are your most competitive skills? And starting your own business allows you to develop a business that uniquely aligns with your skill sets. So there's a sense of fulfillment, a sense of satisfaction in what you do. In reality, I hope for all of you that going into business and entrepreneurship is a solution to all of these. So it solves whatever problem's bothering you right now. It's an alignment with your career. You're targeting an economic opportunity, as well as going into business satisfies your most competitive work skills. I want to take a little moment here to define entrepreneurship, just so we can get it out there. Entrepreneurship is a process of designing, launching, and running a new business, which is more often than not initially a small business, offering a product, process, or service for sale or hire. The people who create these businesses are called entrepreneurs. And so that's what we hopefully can call each one of you someday in the future. But since we bring up the subject matter of an entrepreneur, I want you to be aware of what's called the 20-80 rule. And as memory serves me right, this is one of the potential final exam questions. So we call this the Pareto principle. And in essence, it says that 20% of the total population creates jobs for the other 80%. And if we were to go back to the 5th century BC or further, it's just a phenomena of human social behavior, 20% of us create the jobs for the other 80%. And this is a ratio that holds true decade after decade after millennia after millennia after millennia. It's just human nature. But what's also kind of interesting too is how sometimes phenomena like this can tie into science, laws of nature. And so Pareto observed that 20% of the peas hold 80%. Pea pods equal 80% of the total peas. So if you take all the peas out of the pea pods, 80% of the peas will be held by 20% of the pea pods. So in this particular case, when you become an entrepreneur, you become a pea pod that creates and holds the jobs of the others. Just an interesting phenomena, but to be aware of. Are you a part of this population of 20% of the people? So right off the bat, the odds are against you. You might be one of these 80% people and are about to find out the hard way that you're really not an entrepreneur. And as we go through our curriculum, you're going to find that there's a lot of things that make an entrepreneur different from the average person walking around. Okay, so when we decide to be an entrepreneur, one of the first things we have to figure out is, what area of the economy are we going to target? So on the screen right now, we have a pie diagram that has, several of the top economic sectors in our economy. And when we get into industry analysis and market analysis sections, we're going to learn about SIC codes and things like the North American Industry Classification System. But somewhere, whether you're looking for a job career or an entrepreneur career, you're going to have to target with your mission statement, the very first sentence of your mission statement, what are you selling and to whom are you selling? Like a compass direction. So the first step of becoming an entrepreneur is you have to decide what area of the economy are you going to target. One of the books that are recommended for our course is not a required textbook, and we'll talk about that towards the end of this particular lecture, is The E-Myth by Michael Gerber. And it states right up in the front, 80% of startup businesses fail within the first 2.5 years. And this book is just a fabulous book that goes into the reasons why businesses fail and how to avoid some these pitfalls of starting a business. And again, I bring this up because we want to be aware of this as we get into the curriculum. And I think probably one of the most fundamental things that we're going to teach going through this curriculum is what does it take to be an entrepreneur. The more you study becoming an entrepreneur as a job title, a function, a sense of self-perception, when you actually start to become an entrepreneur, you're going to be able to internalize this visualization. You'll be psychologically prepared for what you're going to get into and avoid being overwhelmed by this new position in society once you achieve this objective. I want to talk a little bit about the benefits of developing a business plan, whether it's a business plan or a career plan. But it's a very well-known fact that businesses that develop and implement a business plan earn 10 times more in profit than firms that don't. And there are a number of reasons why, and we're going to talk about that, but we can also say that individuals that develop and implement a life plan are 10 times more likely to find self-actualization, happiness, and success in life than those who don't. So we're trying to achieve a number of objectives in the course, and we're going to talk about those in just a bit. But let's go into this curriculum looking for trying to because every aspect of a business plan is no different than what's in a life or career plan. They're absolutely interchangeable, a business plan or a life plan. And so as we go through this in terms of organizational structure or mission statement or vision of success statement, the two subject matters, life planning and business planning, really are one and the same. And as an entrepreneur, there's no question, they're absolutely one and the same. I want to talk a little bit about a mission statement because we're going to do a warm-up exercise in just a second. And we're going to be talking about mission statements throughout our entire curriculum. So there are 3 elements of a mission statement and just 2 sentences. So a mission statement establishes what is it that you're selling, the product or service. It then indicates whom are you selling to. So the first sentence of a business plan is what are you selling and to whom are you selling. The second sentence of business plan, of a mission statement establishes what makes you competitively different. Why is someone going to hire you versus somebody else? So what are you selling, to whom are you selling, and what makes you competitively different? Just to widen the definition up a little bit and to make it a little bit more fluid, I want to introduce the idea that there are 3 types of entrepreneurs. The first type of entrepreneur we can call, a career management entrepreneur. You yourself am a business. You're selling yourself to an employer. You are trying to align your resume skills, your talents in the marketplace to the highest and best fit employer. So by the same token, you can be an entrepreneur that's developing a product or service, and you're trying to sell that to the highest and best fit market niche or customer or client. So we can say you can be a career management entrepreneur. We can also be an inner corporate entrepreneur, so an individual that works with in a corporation, but that's being very entrepreneurial in projecting the mission and vision of success of the corporation to the marketplace. So we can call this an inner corporate entrepreneur. The third type of entrepreneur we can say is a business entrepreneur, the person who actually starts and launches and takes a business to market. But in reality, we are all 3 entrepreneurs all the time. We're whether we own a business or whether we are an employee in managing our career, or we're being entrepreneurial within a business. If we got the bug, if we really understand what entrepreneurship is all about, developing a career or developing a business, really many of these concepts are the same from the standpoint of developing mission statements, visions of success statements, organizational structure, and phase of competitive development. We're going to be talking about those 4 subjects throughout our curriculum. We're going to do a course warm-up exercise right now, and I want to prepare you for this. At some point, we're going to ask you to pause the video and do this exercise and turn it back on. Before this lecture is over, we're going to go over our syllabus, so we're ready for the balance of our course. So a mission statement consists of 2 sentences, and we just did a little overview of that. The first sentence is, what are we selling and to whom we're selling? So when we go into exercise mode, I want you to stop and write out a sentence. What I sell, what blank, product, service, to blank, fill it in. Who are you selling it to? Now, from the standpoint of a career entrepreneur, whatever your occupational objective on your resume might be, that's what you're selling. And then to whom you're selling is who you're going to be sending these resumes into. Now, from an entrepreneur standpoint, what products and services are you going to sell to what segment of the economy, to what other types of consumers or businesses? The second sentence is, what makes you competitively different? Why is someone going to buy you that versus someone else, or your product and service from someone else? So we want you to, as an example, I differentiate myself in the marketplace by, and then fill in the blank. So you have to top it, do some soul searching. What are your most competitive skills? Is it thinking? Is it creativity? Is it enterprising? Is it public speaking? Is it working with your hands somehow? What makes you different, your social skills? So we're going to ask you to develop two sentences. What are you as a person or a business, one and the same, selling, and to whom are you selling, and then what makes you competitively different? So whether it's career management, entrepreneur, an intercorporate entrepreneur, or a business entrepreneur, we want you to come up with a mission statement. What are you selling, to whom you're selling, and what makes you competitively different? I want you to pause the video for just a little bit and come back once you've written the sentence out, and then we'll get back into our lecture. Okay, welcome back. Before we fire up again, we want to talk a little bit about the top 10 reasons why businesses fail. And there's a host, and there could be an infinite number of reasons, and many poor financial, preparedness. But there's been many surveys, and these tend to be the top 10. So the first is failure to understand your market and customer. Now, I've had literally thousands, not hundreds, thousands of students through my UCLA courses over the years. And I've had many multi-million-dollar success stories. And one of the things that I can say that the most successful students and businesses do that are what I find most common in the most successful businesses that launch is the individual's ability to understand their customers, right down to if they had to take a guess on what color greeting cards or cards they would pick out for a company party invitation, they could make a guess at that and be pretty close. They can know what types of clothes their customer is going to wear. They know if their customer is conservative or liberal, or what schools they might root for. They know that kind of detail. And by osmosis, so by just being around your customer, year after year after year, you pick up this kind of knowledge. And so knowing your customer that intimately is key to success. And so later on, we're going to learn the importance of developing phase of competitive development. And one of the phases before you even start the business might be to do an internship, might be to take the time to really bond and understand that your target customer in the marketplace before you even start your business. Second is opening up business in an industry that isn't profitable. Now I've got some funny pictures here. We've heard the saying, flipping hamburgers. Well, and flipping hamburgers there's McDonald's. You could make a lot of money, and there's always been a saying that McDonald's is really in the real estate business, but it's important to develop a business concept that you're absolutely passionate about. Just super passionate about. But reality is, can you pay the bills with this business? Is it going to make enough money for you to enjoy the lifestyle that you're anticipating to come from your entrepreneurial venture? And many businesses can look, very profitable on the outside, but the reality is they're really not profitable long run. And you don't realize the amount of work that goes into squeezing a profit out of it. So when we get into developing strategy and price strategy and then cash flow projections, it's going to get down to seeing how many, units of goods and services you've got to sell to break even. And we're also going to talk a bit as we get further into this, working in the business versus working on the business. And for you to really be successful, at some point we have to expand the business and have employees. So, can we make enough money to pay employees plus ourselves and enjoy the lifestyle that we are associating with being an entrepreneur. The third is failure to understand and communicate what you're selling. You know, one of the requirements of our class is to do a presentation. And every quarter, every class, there's always somebody who, and we try to catch this before it happens, but there's always somebody who presents a mission statement to the class that we really just don't know what exactly they're selling and to whom they're selling and what makes them competitively different. And this is where it's important, vitally important, to engage the marketplace as you're developing your business strategy, to talk it up, to get to know getting to know your customer and find out what is it you're really selling. Because it might not be the product and service. It might be more along the line of someone that understands your customer, someone that is trying to solve a problem. Really what they want is someone that's going to help them solve a problem, not actually the product and service. And so it's kind of important to understand that what really catches the interest of your customer. It might not really be the product or service. Always know that people buy you first and what you're selling second. So that's got to tell you a lot in terms of what you're trying to sell. I don't like to use the word survey because some people, just, oh my gosh, another survey. But it's so important to really understand what it is your customer really is interested in, and there's often a failure to communicate what they really, really want. And this is where, this is one of the reasons why 80–90% of businesses fail within the first 2.5 years, is you go in the business not really understanding that, and you find out the hard way. And by the time you figure out what it is you're really selling, it's financially too late. You're already kind of in a death spiral. So it's a good idea to, don't quit your day job before you really understand your customer and your mission statement. Next is inadequate financing. And, well, needless to say, you've got to pay bills. You've got to keep a roof over your head. We're going to talk from time to time about the psychology of success. And you cannot be worrying about financing when you're trying to make a major change in your life, when you're trying to achieve your vision of success goal. So when you develop your phases of competitive development, it's vitally important that you either have cash set aside to keep the roof over your head and the phone hooked up and insurance is paid for and food in the refrigerator, and or to have a cash cow profit center that you can initiate immediately. But much analysis needs to go into your individual financial needs and the startup business financial needs during the first phases of growth, because if you're in a situation where you need operating cash capital and don't have it, you've got a problem. And so again, this is also where experience comes into play. When we get into our strategy sections, I talk a bit about having a MacGyver approach. And I think it's a 1970s TV program. But sometimes you just have to be really, really creative in terms of what you're going to do in terms of your phases of startup development and how you can have a cash flow in and take and reach that critical mass of consistent cash flow and hiring employees, and to where you can actually have a business model that to build and make sure that you have a consistent cash flow. Failure to anticipate market reactions and or market changes. This particular image that we have here is a soccer goalie that misanticipated the direction of a kick, and he's trying to catch it. So obviously it does not look like he's going to block this ball. He made the wrong anticipation. It's the wrong place to block the ball, and in this case the competition is going to score. Again, this gets back to the importance of having experience. We're going to talk a little bit about some of my favorite authors as we go through our curriculum. And one of my favorite authors is Malcolm Gladwell, and he wrote this book called The Outliers. And it really studies how successful people became successful. And in the book, The Outliers, he indicates that before magic starts to happen in your life and your career, that you've logged in 10,000 hours. And once you achieve, like you look at Beethoven and Bach and the Beatles and Gates, and the list goes on and on. Before the magic really started to happen in their life, they had 10,000 hours logged into doing what they were doing. So in this particular case, your phase of competitive development, somehow, some way, you want to try to log in that 10,000 hours doing what you're going to be doing from a mission standpoint. So when you actually get into the business, you just intuitively kind of will know how the market is going to respond to your mission statement and your strategic decisions you make during the startup phases of your business. The sixth reason for business failure is overdependency on a single customer. So and so I put this image up here of outsource versus in-house. So many businesses grow, and we're going to emphasize this too when we get into the E-myth and what makes it. At the very last module in our Canvas program, we have a mentoring section in there, and I outline the key points of the book, The E-myth, which is one of our recommended reading books. And in this book, we talk about using an outsourcing strategy during the first phase of getting your business going. Well, something you have to watch out for, depending on the type of business that you're getting off the ground, if one customer hires you, they're really, in a way, avoiding paying payroll tax and things like this. And then when they get to a critical mass, they might go, we're done with you, we're going to hire employees. And so just be aware of that, that you don't let one customer represent 100% of your income. Because in a way, there's a lot of people who start businesses and they have a healthy income, but reality is that they're still just a job. They're really not marketing. They're really not building a business model. They've got a business that they're providing their services to one customer. So is that really a business? We have to have marketing, and we'll find this out as we go through our curriculum. But there's certain functions that have to happen perpetually, and marketing and sales is one of them. So if we get too cozy with one customer, I want to raise the question, are you really in business? Are you really maintaining a marketing and sales operation? Number 7 is no customer strategy. No customer strategy. And when we get into our competitive strategy sections, there's 7 strategies that we're going to develop, teach you how to develop. And one's called our price strategy. And price strategy and our overall competitive strategy, they all tie together. But I have a little diagram in here that is, we refer to as the value proposition ladder. And when we approach a potential customer, we want to have a strategy. And to get someone's interest, sometimes we have to give them something free, and then to have some kind of sense of transfer of service, something has value. And then what's the next minimum level of economic transfer to get them to develop a relationship with us? So maybe that's a 350-hour consulting project or service, but they agree to hire you, and then next might be 3,500, and the next level might be 30,000. So what steps are you going to guide that customer through from the first initial engagement and step them up the value proposition ladder? Now, and we'll talk about this when we get into how to acquire power and influence and how to do an elevator sales pitch. And the same concept applies there in terms of giving just the right amount of information to draw someone into you, and then when they indicate they're interested, to give them more information, and then more to the point where they really understand what you're doing. So when you engage a customer We sometimes call this a marketing and sales pipeline, but we want to be managing that relationship strategically to get it to grow. Sometimes we call this upselling. But for every customer and client, we want to have a strategy, an upsell strategy. Knowing when to say no. Gosh, when you're energetic, it's hard to do that sometimes. Sometimes we need to have someone who represents us, because I will be the first to admit, I struggle with myself. And I've come across many how to become successful type articles and books. And boy, this comes up pretty regularly, knowing when to say no. Well, you want to give the store away, there'll be a line outside your office for people willing to take it. And so you kind of have to be very strategic. Know when to say no. There's a critical balance here of knowing when to entice someone in and do a little for somebody, but then there's a lot of people who keep taking and taking and taking, and so we're going to get into an area of our curriculum that deals with how to develop a mission statement. And you're going to find that a mission statement is like a 10 commandment law that we should never violate. And we're also going to get into an area called Stephen Covey's time management matrix. And so we're going to find and discover the importance of doing what complies with our mission statement and to stay away from things that don't fit into our mission statement. Also going back to the 20% of the people who are entrepreneurs versus the 80% that aren't, and how 20% creates jobs for the other 80%. Something in common that the 80% does is just a focus on the business. And if you keep saying yes and giving the store away, you're throwing off, you're violating your mission statement, the law that your mission statement represents. And then your time goes to hell, and it's just one of the things that can lead to a spiral death spin as a business. Next is poor management. And I believe that there's only really one kind of management, and that's supportive management. Some people are very much intimidate people, and that only lasts so long. When we're doing the management function, we want to empower people to be their best. We want to inspire people to embrace our mission statement, our corporate culture strategy. We want achieving the mission of success for our business to become part of the career strategy of the people we hire, whether they're in-house or outsourced. And so that we have, and we're going to learn about this in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, but we want to always have a win-win strategy. And so when it comes to management, I think that's one of the important things, showing respect and creating a win-win atmosphere with the people we hire. And last but not least, no planning. Shall we say, no phase of competitive development. There's an old saying, Rome wasn't built in a day, and you can't eat an elephant with one bite. And one of the features of a strategic plan is what we call phase of competitive development. What are we going to do first, second, third as we execute our mission statement to achieve our vision of success statement. And so strategic planning, being organized, division of labor, leads to specialization, leads to increased output, is just an example of what we call the theory of organizational structure. And so having an organized, methodic plan to execute your business so that when you actually start the process of executing your business and something changes, and something will change, it's guaranteed something's going to change, you're more apt to make the right decision on the fly in that particular kind of an example than if you had to start from scratch and develop a new plan. So, and we're going to talk a whole lot about developing strategic plans as we go through our curriculum. Okay, well, we just wrapped up the top 10 reasons for business failure. and I believe there's a final exam question. Which three of those do you think are you going to be most subject to, and how are you going to avoid that threat? Okay, I'm going to raise a question. This might wind up on the final exam too. But what is the #1 virtue of a successful entrepreneur? All that have compromised the barriers of entry to get into a market and become a successful entrepreneur, what one virtue that they all have in common? Tenacity, stick-to-itiveness. Walt Disney, I think, went bankrupt 5 times before he found success. There's a certain vision of success that you stay focused on, and anything that knocks you off, you just stand back up and you start working towards it again. We're going to talk about the use of vision boards and vision of success strategy, and having a focus on what you're trying to achieve, why you're in the starting blocks. So when you take off running to cross that finish line of success, to achieve your vision of success, we just have to have a dogged, steadfast, stick-to-itiveness to achieve that objective. Yes, there's going to be bumps in the road, but we need to compromise those, and circumventing the little bumps that want to throw us off balance is probably the one thing that we have to look as a challenge and not look at it as a setback, but a stepping stone to success. Okay. Well, that was our warm-up lecture, and now we're just going to get into covering the syllabus for our course. So this is posted on Canvas, but we want to give you a quickie introduction to the weeks before us. I want to read very quickly. I know you can read too, but just so we get it out in the opens, our description of what we're going to be going over in our curriculum. And this is straight out of the UCLA catalog. This course is designed for entrepreneurs and small business owners and managers who are interested in learning key concepts on how to begin or grow a business. The course presents an overview of the risks and rewards of owning a business and examines the realities and responsibilities of being in a business for yourself. Students learn how to identify and qualify a market opportunity and steps involved for moving a business from idea to actual operation. Topics include the process of writing and activating a business plan, developing markets and on sales strategies, marketing and sales strategies, financial projections, operational parameters. There's also legal aspects, including protecting your idea, selecting the best funding option, and tax implications for business owners are all covered. This class will feature successful entrepreneurs as guest speakers, and we got some. I have video clips, and if this class is integrated with a classroom tunnel, I've got fabulous guest speakers who will be presenting our class, and/or I'll be presenting video clips of their presentations. Course objectives. To help each student find their highest and best fit in life as an entrepreneur. To teach the fundamental steps of developing and building and launching a startup business within a competitive market. 3, to train each student on how to understand and/or develop and align their most competitive skills and talents within their business strategy to avoid business failure. So I want to stop and make a little note here. UCLA Extension is the oldest, the largest, and many believe the most prestigious extension program in the world. It is such a high honor to be a part of this program, and at the time this video is being made, this is my 24th year of teaching UCLA Extension courses. I think what makes us different, what differentiates what we do here at UCLA Extension than other programs in business is just the mentoring that takes place, having exercise and curriculum and feedback. that helps you understand you to align your life mission statements, your career and business mission statement, to align with your highest and most competitive marketplace skills. So I just want to emphasize that. I think that's a really important aspect of what we try to deliver to you in this particular curriculum. To prepare each student and or group of students on how to develop and present a professional business plan for acquisition of business partners, for acquisition of business partners, staff, funding, and market resources. Here is the answer to one of our final exam questions. What is meant by life trajectory alignment? And so we have to be aware that as we develop the strategy for our business as well as the strategy for our career or our life, we're not going to make a 90-degree turn and go that way when we have all this force and energy going in a particular direction. So part of what we're going to do here is develop a biography that eventually is going to turn into our company history. Even if we haven't been in business yet, we still are going to write a company history. And it's vitally important that you kind of understand that trajectory, that sequence of experiences that you have gone through in life so you can understand where you're going, where you've been and where you're going. And when we get into this particular talk in our curriculum for next week or the next module of courses, we're going to learn that hindsight equals foresight. So we're not stupid. We're not going to do something we don't have any experience in. We want to find a trajectory that best aligns with our life experiences to this point. So life trajectory alignment. And so we're trying to, how can we tweak just a little bit? Because, we already have a certain momentum. We're going to be going somewhere, in these directions out here. Which one of these particular trajectory patterns is best going to align with who we are, our innate personality, and our life experiences? I believe every one of us has a unique background that qualifies us to execute a mission statement, to achieve a vision of success statement that's unique to each and every one of you. And none of you are the same. They're all going to be different. And when we can find that alignment, that life trajectory alignment, that's passion. That's destiny. And I think one of the key objectives of this curriculum is to help you find your life force alignment, the destiny, the passion that you have to be the best you can be. And sometimes we call that self-actualization. Anyway, I want to touch a little bit on what inspires me as an instructor, and that is to touch the direction of the lives of others for the rest of their life. So I pride myself to do what I do well enough that a little bit of me lives on in you. And so this is my mission statement, objective, or motto: to touch the direction of the lives of others for the rest of their life. I'm going to talk about the organization of our curriculum a little bit. But in essence, what you're looking at right now is, this is in fact the table of contents to a business plan. This particular diagram we are going to be exposed to just about in every single lecture from the beginning to the very end. And for what it's worth, whether we're studying entrepreneurship, whether we're studying new venture formation, or whether we're studying business plan development, all three subject matters are going to cover all these topics. They're identical. Okay, so how to start a business, or to write a business plan to start a business, and or just mastering just what is entrepreneurship. All these subject matters come up in all three of the topics. So each one of these boxes here are going to be talked about in one way or the other in every single talk we give. Our course is organized in a 4-part format. Part 1 is case study and strategic planning process. So that's going to get into biography writing, company history writing. We're going to talk a little bit about the Myers-Briggs type indicator, the strongest inventory, to find out, what some of your innate preferences are in terms of skill sets, innate skill sets, things that are just you, like your fingerprint. But our goal is to get all the facts out on the table so we can put those facts into a strategic planning process and then start to generate, potential solutions and recommendations. Part 2 of our curriculum is going to deal with developing economic concepts of the business. So here we're going to delve into how to do an industry analysis, a market analysis, how to identify our most competitive resources, our market opportunities, and then how we're going to culminate all that and with a competitive strategy, which is how we're going to execute the mission statement to achieve the vision of success statement. And in that process, we have to build infrastructure, and we have to develop a strategy on what's going to happen first, second, third to build that infrastructure to actually launch the business to execute the mission statement to achieve the vision of success statement. A lot of planning, but when we actually get into business, just like an athlete, and we're going to talk about in the mentoring section at the end of our curriculum, we profile a book called Success is a Choice. And just like an athlete, the more you practice, the more you react versus think about it. I mean, as an entrepreneur, you're not going to have time often to think about what you're going to do. You have to know your business well enough that it's a spontaneous reaction. So the more we study strategy and how the business is set up in job titles and job descriptions, when we're in a spot, we're just going to instantaneously know what to do versus have to go, oh my God, I gotta, call an advisory board meeting or go back to the books. Part 3 of our curriculum is the development of our mechanical sections. Developing organizational structure, which is division of labor, and then defining, which leads to specialization. That's the law of organizational theory. But then defining the job titles and job descriptions for each of the departments. And in essence, we're going to learn how to write a business plan within a business plan. So we're going to write a mini business plan for each functional divisions of labor within the organization, for administration, accounting, bookkeeping, project management, etc. So everything gets broken down from the standpoint of what we call a mechanical section. These mechanical sections can also often be referred to as an operations manual for the business that the chief operating officer would manage. The 4th and final segment of our curriculum deals with launching the business and startup marketing development. So a lot of this is going to get into cash flow projections, funding, market development, branding, everything associated with getting into the compromising barriers of entry to get into the marketplace, carving out your market position niche within the marketplace, and getting startup clients and surviving. So again, as we know, 80 to 90% of most businesses fail within the first 2.5 to 3 years. This is a big part of success. You can develop a wonderful business, wonderful concept, do everything right, but if you can't get it in the business and keep that startup clientele coming and deal with competition, all this hard work could go to waste. So again, so we can tie these 4 parts into that, the business plan, this graphic that we shared with you earlier. Part 1 deals with all the front-end documents in the company history, getting all the facts out so we can do both a case study analysis, which is then going to, that's where your life is going, which is going to then translate, and I'll show you, we'll go into how to edit that, but that's going to be how our company history. And then part 2 goes into our industry, our theoretical sections or our economic sections, how to develop an industry analysis, a market analysis. The industry analysis explains how the overall industry works. The market analysis is a point of entry into the industry. How to identify our competitive resources, our market opportunities, then how to take all that information and to assemble a competitive strategy. Then from there, we're going to go into what's referred to as the mechanical sections of developing a business. And that's, taking like a magnifying glass and really studying the nuts and bolts on how we're going to, assemble this business. The more we study the nuts and bolts and what it's going to take to bring life to each segment of the business, the more self-confidence we're going to have in actually doing this. I sometimes like to refer to Frankenstein, or Dr. Frankenstein, building Frank. And so Dr. Frankenstein went around to mortuaries and stole bodies and body parts and then sewed them together and then infused blood or shall we say capital into Frank, and then gave it a shock of life, and it came alive and stood back and said, "It's alive! It's alive!" Well, as an entrepreneur, it's the same thing. We're trying to assemble all these divisions of labor, just like organs of a body. And once we get them together, can we spark and bring life to it with some startup funding and a lot of really hard work? If we get a catch, it's just amazing. It's called the magic of business, an exponential growth curve. But here, we're going to develop the architectural drawings for, shall we say, a contractor to estimate, so we get a feel for, how much money's got to go out for profit to start to come back. So our startup funding needs, and then we're going to spend a lot of time on how to do a cash flow projection, because if we have investors, they're going to see, well, what are we going to get out of this in 3 to 5 years? And then how that's going to translate into financial statements, and then finally a conclusion. I want to touch a little bit on our Canvas modules. So there are 9 Canvas modules that are directly part of our curriculum. I also have a 10th one down here, which is mentoring. So it's not an official module, but there's a 10th module too. Anyway, Module 1 is an introduction, and that's what we're going through right now. And I think there's a few other videos associated with this. Module number 2, and each of these modules, by the way, mirror our weeks, like week 1, week 2, week 3 in our curriculum. Week 2, or Module 2, is a case study process. So we're going to really drill down on how to do case studies, strategic planning, company history, biographies, and in Canvas, under our assignments, I believe we are asking you to watch a video on how to write a biography and to have a draft biography ready to go by module number 2, or by 3, it's outlined. Then module number 3, week 3, is compiling an industry and market information, or market analysis information. And there's really a spike in just the reading and the amount of information that you're going to be asked to assemble for your business idea. And so this is a point in our curriculum that I encourage you not to get overwhelmed. Keep it simple. Just try to understand the basics, because when we start getting into industry analysis and market analysis, we discover, my God, there's so much information out there. I mean, what do I actually need? And you're going to find that in module number 2, we're going to help you understand how to do a strategic plan, preliminary strategic plan. And this is really going to help you understand, what do I actually need to find in terms of an industry analysis and market analysis. So by doing what we do in the case study process, the strategic planning process, we're going to be much more efficient in knowing what type of information we're looking for when we start to compile our industry analysis and market analysis. By the way, and for what it's worth, most people who start to write a business plan or develop a business, they never finish the business plan, they never start the business, because they get so overwhelmed with this type of information. You're more competitive if you know it. Sometimes you save a lot of time if you don't know it, but from an academic standpoint, we have to go over this and teach you how to do or assemble an industry analysis as well as a market analysis. Module number 4 is establishing your competitive strategy. And strategy is broken down into an internal, external management market strategy and an internal management strategy. And so we're going to teach you how to do There are three types of external strategies: market niche strategy, price strategy, and market position strategy. And there are three types of internal strategy: a corporate culture strategy, a vision of success strategy, and phase of competitive development. And we're going to teach you on how to develop all those strategies. Module number 5 is organizational structure and operational mechanics. And here we're going to teach you on how to break the business down into an org structure, how to develop job titles, job descriptions, and then as well as to develop the mechanical sections for each of the departments within your business. And then module number 6 is our business systems, cost estimating, and cash flow projections. And here we're going to go in and drill down in how to estimate startup cost, how to project revenue, direct cost of sales, overhead over time, 3 to 5 year period. And then how that translates into developing a projection of financial statements. I'm not going to ask you to develop a projection of financial statements, but we're going to go over the basics in here. Usually, and in real life, we hire a CPA firm that really understands your industry to do that. The next module is module number 7, our market development and brand marketing and sales. So now we're really down to taking our business to market and how we're going to sell it. And we have some fabulous guest speakers that have come in, or I've got video recordings of guest speakers over the years that have talked on this subject matter. Module number 8 deals with business valuations and developing an exit strategy. So we're going to talk a little bit here about the virtues of buying a business versus starting a business. And there are many virtues. And in fact, when we start a business, we actually want to build the business as if we're going to sell the business. And that just helps us really think much about the name we're going to call it. Like if you name the business after your name, it might be a little hard to sell that down the road after you've branded it in the marketplace with your name. Someone else might not want to buy it for that reason. So you've got to be kind of aware of that. That would actually detract from the value of the business. Module 8 is business valuation and developing an exit strategy. Module number 9 is Business Law 101 and presenting your business plan. And it's about this point here that this leads up to where you're actually going to present your business plan, and we're going to talk a little bit about that before this particular video is over. Module number 10 is mentoring. So we outline about, I want to say, four books, and then just some concepts on how to acquire power and influence, and some really, really valuable coaching on how to approach developing your brand image as an individual going into a market. Much of the stuff we talk about in our Module 10 of mentoring, I wish in my early 20s that I got this lecture. So I think there's some really life planning and mentoring that's just invaluable that's going to occur there. So anyway, this is kind of an overview again of our structure, our curriculum structure. And this is going to be kind of burned into our mind. In the back of our mind, we're going to keep this for many, many years to come. I want to talk a little bit about our course presentation. Each student is going to be required to present their business plan to the class. And so I want to talk just a little bit about the objectives of this. What inspires me in this particular area is there's a video that I'm very fond of called the Dead Poets Society by Robert Williams, and there's a portion of this video that deals with students kicking a ball, and I think the reason why I want to bring this up, there's a segment of this video that is very inherent to what goes on in this class. And so I want to play just a little segment of this video so you can kind of see the energy that takes place, because when you present your business idea, your project to the class, for me there's a little bit of this going on. Let's watch.
Now, devotees may argue that one sport or game is inherently better than another. For me, sport is actually a chance for us to have other human beings push us to excel. I want you all to come over here and take a slip of paper and line up single file. Mr. Meeks, I'm doing here at the Earth. Mr. Pitts, rise above your name. I want you to hand these out to the boys, one apiece. You know what to do, Pitts!
Oh, to struggle against great odds, to meet enemies undaunted.
Sounds to me like you're daunted. Say it again like you're undaunted.
Oh, to struggle against great odds, to meet enemies undaunted.
Now go on! Yeah! Next!
To be a sailor of the world, bound for all ports.
Next! Louder!
So the kicking the ball is the launching of your business, launching of you into your life.
Of guns with perfect nonchalance.
Come on, Meeks, listen to the music!
To dance, clap hands, exalt, shout, skip, roll on, float, on.
Yes!
Oh, to have life henceforth the poem of new joys.
Oh, ooh. Come on, Charlie, let it fill your soul.
Do indeed be a god!
Okay. Anyway, so I wanted to share that with you so that as this course culminates, and I think one of the reasons why I've taught this course year after year after year after year after year was just being a part of your life and watching each one of you blossom and whack the soccer ball into the future as you announce to everybody your vision of your mission statement, vision of success, and how you're going to get there. And so let's talk about your course project just a little bit here. And I'm just going to fly through this, and it's not that hard to do. We like you to do this within, believe it or not, 12 to 10 minutes. And we'll have a whole section on how to present your business plan when we get there. But we're going to be looking for a mission statement. What are you selling? To whom you're selling? What makes you competitively different? A little bit about your vision of success. What's your ultimate objective? Your company history and biography. What's your qualifications to execute this business plan to achieve your vision of success, this plan? Your industry analysis. And you have to be able to explain to the audience how the industry works, what kind of flow, what kind of systems take place, how big the industry is, what cycles it goes through, where's it going in the future. The market analysis, competition, geographic location, demographics, market infrastructure, your competitive strategy. Now, even though we have 6 strategies we talk about, but many of those strategies can be defined with just a single sentence. So you put more work into actually developing and then what it takes to present it. But what I'm looking for all of you as an essential aspect of this is your phase of competitive development. That is the number one thing that we're looking here. What are you going to do first, second, third to execute the mission statement to achieve the vision of success statement? Some kind of organizational structure. So we're going to teach you on how to, administration and then the functional divisions of labor to build a business model. And then our phases of competitive development in terms of phase of competitive development worksheet. And that is the fundamental foundation for your mechanical sections. And we're going to spend quite a bit of time on that. But if you develop a phase of competitive development worksheet, nobody's going to question your ability to execute your business plan to achieve your vision of success. It's a very, very powerful statement, and we're going to show you how to develop that. Job titles and job descriptions. So this is going to stem from our organizational structure and our phase of competitive development worksheet. Our startup funding needs and what it's going to take to get the business going, and then finally a cash flow projection. Regarding textbook stuff, I work with 2 textbooks, and so if you're signed up in our new venture formation class, our textbook is Starting Your Own Business by Riva Linovsky. And then the 2 recommended books is The E-Myth by Michael Gerber and The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell. Just amazing books, and it's so important that you have those concepts going into this particular subject matter. If you're taking this course from the Developing a Business Plan class, the textbook we're going to be working with is Successful Business Plan. And again, the same two recommended books, The E-Myth by Michael Gerber and The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell. I've been working with this book for, like the last 15 years. Very, very, very effective book. Our grading, basically, the 20% is based on attendance. For courses that actually meet. Reading assignments and attendance for online too. Our reading assignments and quizzes are 20%. The written business plan 20%, business plan presentation 20%, and then our final exam and blue book is 20%. So that represents 100% of our grade. And then down at the bottom here, these are terms that are used with the grades that are issued, and that's UCLA administration kind of stuff there. Students are expected to complete the text reading as scheduled. And in Canvas, we outline our reading assignments for each week. Also to complete examination, and there's reading quizzes associated with each of the reading assignments. Participate in in-class or online class discussions. Share problems, concerns, and achievements as they develop during the semester. So, I want to encourage us to learn from each other. Online chatting and or conversations we have within the classroom, to complete a feasibility study business plan or an actual business plan, depending on which one of these courses you're signed up in, and to a little bit of limited research. I don't want to. I should kill ourselves. One of the paradox of mastering entrepreneurship or business plan development. It's kind of hard to really master the whole process until you master each of the segments. And this is the first time you're going through this. To effectively develop a business plan, we have to develop it 3 times. It's a lot of work. The first time is just kind of understanding what are all the nuts and bolts it's going to take to make this thing go. And then and when you're done, you realize, my gosh, I really do have to tweak the mission statement and the industry analysis and market analysis a little bit here, and there. So, really it's a process that we have to go through 3 times before we really, really master it and internalize it. And so the first go around, we're just kind of getting a feel for how important each of these sections are. And by the second and third get around, this is where we're going to start to really dig down in our research, because we're going to know really what's going to count at that point. And then, needless to say, attend every class. So last but not least, and one of the final exam questions is, what is our course motto? And here's our course motto. And I kind of want you to keep this for the rest of your life, but to be absolutely determined to enjoy what you do, enjoy what you do best, do it, and get someone to pay you for just being yourself. And that's what happiness is all about. That's the objective of life is to be happy, and so much of what we do is directly related to being happy. So there's our course motto by Will Rogers, very famous writer, Hollywood actor. Wrote a number of books, but he's mainly known for writing little captions like this. But to be absolutely determined to enjoy what you do best and do it and get someone to pay you for just being yourself. To that note, that winds up our very first Canvas lecture, and we'll see you back for the next lecture. And I wish you all good luck and success as you make your way through our curriculum.